2018, the Children's Shakespeare Festival marked 10 years of the project. It was founded by John Dooner in 2009. John had spent most of his career as a secondary drama teacher.
I first came across John when I was a student at Edgerton Park. As a teacher, he was really inspirational and sort of let you come up with your own ideas creatively. And as a student, I was 16 doing my GCSEs. He would give me his ideas and then let us as a team and my peers create different forms of drama.
This stage is going to be your stage. I don't know what the right response is. What do you say when you see a piece of theatre happen and actors show you things, not just anything, but specially chosen words and specially chosen actions. As soon as something goes on a stage, it means something.
After being a secondary drama teacher, John became Cheshire Local Authority's drama advisor. But following the removal of local authority advisor roles, John established North West Drama, and the purpose really was to ensure that drama development and CPD wasn't lost. He held the ambition for North West Drama to be the foremost provider of educational drama in the region of the North West. I think key to that was finding a way to bring the same high-quality drama provision that he promoted in secondary schools into the primary phase.
When I came upon North West Drama and discovered that John was the founder of it, it wasn't a surprise actually, because the way North West Drama actually operate is very similar to how John taught me at school when I was a teenager.
What I liked about his manner really was his clarity about what it was he was doing, what he wanted, why were they doing this work, and his care about how that teacher should handle the work, and if she was fearful of it, then he was removing that level of fear.
And he felt that Shakespeare was yet to be sort of unlocked for primary school children in a truly meaningful way. And the Children's Shakespeare Festival model he developed from his exploration of the best way to do that.
I think what he was doing was trying to make young children particularly have a concept of the world in its complexity, not in its simplest term, but in its complexity, and asking them to tackle the very, who else would you go to for a view of the world and humankind and human relationships than to Shakespeare?
Consider yourself educated, audience. There may or may not be a written test at the end, just to check. Okay, so there's the big story. We've taken it and we've smashed it all into bits and we've kind of put it together again.
Over the 10 years that the project has been running, it's grown considerably from, in the first year, a single project where the final performance was held in a sports hall in Cheshire, to in 2018 working with 2,200 children, 5 partner theatres and some 70 primary schools across the North West in 12 festivals.
When we first worked with John on the festival, John came in and hired the space, but after a few years we realised it was something that we wanted to work in partnership on. So for the last 6 or 7 years we've been doing a co-production for the festivals, and we do 3 festivals each year.
Every single year I feel like Oldham's Festival has grown and it's become a real part of what the Coliseum does.
The growth of it, for me, is a testament to the brilliance of John and to the brilliance of the idea, you know, and for me it's a genuine pleasure to be the keeper of that legacy.
The project has 3 distinct phases. The first is all about exploration, and it begins with an immersive 24-hour residential for school staff.
The residentials take place, the ones that I've been to anyway, take place in a church off the coast of Wales on Anglesey, in the middle of nowhere, so far removed, feels very removed from the rest of society.
Right, let's think about the content of what we're going to do. Of course, we did say to you don't need to know anything about this.
but it's really great to kind of get away from the hustle and bustle, the day-to-day kind of, you know, needs and requirements of the class in school, and you're kind of taken away from it all into this most amazing chapel space, and it kind of really creates that atmosphere.
We have to be away from where you live, and it has to be overnight, and we have to feel like a team. We very quickly move from being lots of people that don't know each other to an actual community, and it comes within a few hours because we know we're staying together. It's that sense of adventure and camaraderie that you get from being in that moment, and it means we are in that moment there, and from that is where the power of the work comes.
And then what we'll do is we are, as an ensemble, we're going to perform this poem just vocally.
We get there, book in our rooms and things, and then we start straight away, and basically Matt and the team run us through the entire, I think it's about a 12-week scheme in 24 hours. So we're up, dancing around, we're on the floor, we're turning over, making poetry, making sounds, just doing the entire of it as the children would do it, and just living through it in the eyes of the children.
Learn it exactly how you're going to teach it to the children, so you can remember what you did, and then you can make sure that you can stop the children that they're getting the best as well from the scheme.
The residential was so rewarding as a teacher for many reasons. One of the reasons was that I didn't really know Hamlet. I knew the story a little bit, but when you see Peter and the team in role, showing us how they would teach the spec and giving us ideas, I left the residential with so many ideas as a teacher.
The ghost tells Hamlet that he must take revenge.
You must take revenge.
Stay where you are, and everyone together, please. Revenge this foul and most unnatural murder.
Revenge this foul and most unnatural murder.
It's about them, isn't it? Taking the safe risks that they will ask their young people to take, so that they're going to be like empathetic lead learners, I suppose, who will take their young people on a journey.
Something is rotten in the state of Denmark.
And it's such an invaluable way to kind of approach the drama, to put yourself in the children's shoes.
The person who was chosen the second time, please step forward.
It's brought my language on, and the way that I've taught and through drama especially has come on really well, so thank you for that.
And sometimes people say to me, why on earth do you do a residential? Why do you stay overnight? And I go, you have to do it to understand why we do that. You're not in your head with us in that moment if you're going home tonight worrying about what you're having for your tea and then getting up in the morning and coming back.
I don't know if he tells you how he really feels, but you have noticed him.
Well, you know what he's been through.
Finish about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, you know the play, you know exactly, not necessarily exactly, but you know exactly how you're going to teach this to your classes, and it's a wonderful thing to work together on as well. When you're meeting all the other schools that are going to be involved, it's quite the creative energy in the room. The end of that 24 hours is quite powerful, very tangible thing.
Well done.
The way it was delivered delivered to us at the residential was fantastic, which enabled us then to go into the classroom and deliver it with such passion and enthusiasm, which is then passed on to the children.
The aim of the residential is to leave the teachers inspired and energised. And the next thing that happens is a launch workshop led by a festival director in the school.
We'll use some of the techniques that we've used in the residential and we'll launch it with the children. So that's our first introduction with them, but it also introduces them to the story and how they're going to be exploring it. This is going to be something practical, imaginative, immersive, and that sets it up for the teacher then.
What we're going to do today is we're going to start to find out something about the world of this story.
When we get to the launch workshop, it becomes, in a sense, a bit more theatrical. Obviously, that's the first point at which the children come into the Children's Shakespeare Festival, that they just engage in a theatrical environment with a character. I know we don't stay in role all of the time, to set the whole tone for the thing.
Yeah. And when he died up there at the Castle Elsinore, well, this was where he was buried. I mean, you noticed those flowers on his grave seem to be a little bit old. Now, I don't believe that, of course. I mean, I don't believe in ghosts and things like that, and you don't either, do you, now? I mean, it's all just made up, isn't it? We will walk them down this path through the forest, and then, to the teacher, all you need to do is guide them now. You know, it's getting into the forest, isn't it? That's the step that we do with them. We come in and walk you into the dark forest, and then it's not so dark anymore because you realise there's light coming through, and then all of a sudden it's that adventure.
Workshop, the teachers are in the driving seat and they deliver the scheme of work that they've already experienced. John used to say that our job was to leave warmth everywhere, and by that he meant leaving the teachers confident and creative.
Through going on the training and using the scheme of work, I just feel I've got a whole armoury of different ways of teaching that I just use in every aspect of my teaching now.
It really links with the curriculum as well, with the English objectives that we are currently trying to fulfil in Year 4 with the children.
It sort of works alongside the national curriculum and sort of maintains the way the specifications are, but it does sort of bring the text out of the page, and it's so practical based.
Once the scheme has been explored in its entirety, the children have a really deep and personal connection to the play, and that's our purpose really. It's the foundation on which their creative response in the next phase is based, and the next phase is all about devising.
I feel it's kind of the most creative I can be as a teacher. I really, I think the first year I did it, I found I enjoyed it, but I was quite daunted by the prospect. And I suppose the freedom, I'm not a drama specialist, I don't act, I've not been to drama school. And so to be given the freedom to devise and create a piece of drama with children, when you do it for the first time, you are kind of finding your way.
And John always kind of really handed that process over, didn't he? So if you happen to be a teacher who loves writing scripts, write a script for your kids and give them ownership in a different way. But if you're a teacher who would just like to hand that whole process over, do it that way.
I've worked with classes where the teacher has absolutely, entirely given the process to the children and said, what are you going to do? And they've organised themselves into a rehearsal, and they've decided what isn't going to make their final piece, you know, and it's remarkable to see that happen.
What I'm always amazed with is how disciplined and how excited they are, and what they bring to the table, what energy and what creativity they can think of and they put on stage.
I sort of got a few ideas from the scheme of work that we could use, and then, to be honest, the children wrote the scripts. So
the way that they've come to know Shakespeare by that point means that they make it theirs, and they present it in a way that reflects their community.
He says, you must not speak of this revenge. Moon and Cajun just like walk off in the background, and then the spotlight just goes right on Aidan.
Look at you! It's so when they've received their focus area and they've started to build and shape their piece to either a particular theme or a particular section of the play that involves certain characters, that's when they'll start to build their performance, and like Matt said, we'll go in and we'll deliver a directorial visit.
Just play with it, yeah, so it doesn't just sound like we've recorded you and you're saying the same every time. So
think about how you might react to that. The person you love feels really mean.
Don't put your whole body down, but just come. Otherwise, you will be haunted forever. Have you got an idea?
Well supported, you're not on your own. If you've ever got any problems after the residential and you think, oh, I just don't know what to do, you can ring Matt or you can ring one of the team. They'll come in and help you out. You're not left floundering at all.
Really, the job there is to look at what they've got, to support them with the development of it, and also to ensure that what they've got fits within the wider understanding of what the piece is and what the performance festival will be like, because it's important that it feels cohesive at the end.
For I don't feel I trust the words of this ghost on this stormy night, and whether this revenge will be right. Play as I mad as I play, and you must not speak of this day.
Because every year I'll always say to Matt, oh Matt, I'm not sure this year, I'm not sure how they're going to do it, or I don't think this person's going to join in. And every year Matt will say to you, don't worry, it'll work, and it absolutely does.
My crown, my kingdom. The king is dead. Murder, remember.
Lost all my life, my wife, my crown.
The rest is silence.
down slowly, slowly.
Now, be off with you and give me your word that these events will remain untold. You have it, my lord.
At the minute, we live in a culture where drama and the arts in general is not valued as much as it should be. So the government and local councils are very aware of the cost of the arts, but kind of overlook the value of the arts.
You don't need to do any more than just tell a story about the human condition, and that's all it takes, because the kids understand it intuitively.
Even though the themes you would think were perhaps quite challenging, I think they've just responded with their own kind of life knowledge and just drawn parallels with things that they've experienced themselves.
This year, a lot of the focus has been on death, which has been really quite poignant, really, because we've had some children who've gone through family members dying, so we've been able to bring that up and really talk through it and just really focus on it in quite a safe way.
They deal with what probably seem like things that are too big for a small person to deal with, but they're not. They're absolutely not, and we do them a disservice, I think, to assume that anything is too big for them.
In flight of angels, sing thee to thy rest.
I've had children in every year that I've done it who, when I got them in year 5 or 6, just wouldn't speak in front of anyone else, had no confidence, and the things that they write and they say to you during the whole process and afterwards about how suddenly they've just found this voice and they could speak and they could project themselves and they've never been the same again.
They develop this ability to work as a team. There's real collaboration as part of the project, and I've seen over many years kind of quieter children in the class absolutely shining on stage.
Year on year we see such a huge improvement in the children's confidence and their ability to communicate through spoken language.
They're taking on that ownership, and because they've got a choice in what they're doing, that you feel that they own that script.
Every pupil in this country is going to engage with Shakespeare at some point.
Yeah.
And I think how you do that is crucial to how you relate to him for the rest of your lives.
The students from Oldham, from particularly South Asian communities, they might speak 2 languages at home, and they engage with the language in such an inspiring way that it feels quite special for us to be bringing a mix of students together to engage with Shakespeare's words.
Because no one will notice he's crazy, but everyone there's as crazy as he is. You're not making sense. Sense? There is no sense left. If I appear to be acting without sense, there is method to my madness.
And whether I feel this revenge will be right. Play as I mad as I play, and you must not speak of this day.
The final, most visible phase of the Children's Shakespeare Festival is the performance phase, where the children from several different schools come together and bring their performances to a professional stage and share and celebrate their learning with friends and family.
Revenge, revenge, revenge thy father's death. Revenge, 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 take vengeance on the street. Revenge, revenge, on he who wears the crown.
I like that you can just like go onto the stage and like be yourself.
I will avenge, I will avenge. Revenge is foul and most unnatural murder.
I can see new people, meet new people, and I can show people what I'm capable of.
Don't love you, I hate you!
When they come to the stage, you know, it's that notion of being like the tip of the iceberg. This is just the end of the project. This is the sharing, if you like, of everything that's gone on since January.
And I've seen today, you know, standing in the wings, their performance was great in the school hall, but now when they're on the stage today, they just take it to another level.
And it's been lovely to see those children that are less confident have come into their own, and actually they've realised that when they're on stage, they're not who they are in a day-to-day life at school. They are that character, and they live and breathe it from the minute they step on stage to the finale.
I get to show my skills and talents to other people and like encourage other little children to do drama. Oh, what a noble mind is here overthrown.
This is a really nice opportunity for us here at the Coliseum, the learning team, to work with the technicians on a professionally produced show, as in our technicians will work with the stage manager, lighting and sound technician, just like they would for a normal performance. And that's when it becomes stage ready, and we start to see how the lighting and the sound and our musician Sam can really change that piece and enhance it.
I tend to improvise along with the performances and provide a little bit of pre-recorded music.
When we come to theatres, we do add light and sound and, you know, a bit of haze perhaps. But actually, most pieces, they may have a few props, but most pieces are just their bodies and their voices. And seeing sort of 30 or more, or sometimes less, but seeing those groups just creating those stage pictures and body shapes and things as a collective, it's just really interesting to see as a quite pure piece of theatre.
It's not the fact that we're in the theatre, but what the theatre does is it changes our relationship with the audience. The children's relationship with the audience is a profoundly different one than they would ever have in their school hall.
I enjoyed coming to the Lowry and seeing all the lighting and how they actually do it in a real theatre.
what you see in the theatres during those performances, you see the smiles on the faces of the people in the audience, because they know those, and they're sharing that moment. It's the, you know, the audience-performer relationship couldn't be clearer, really.
It's also a fantastic platform for expression for them, that they can come into the space and they can perform in front of between 400 and 600 people.
It's real good to see that we're all linking. It's not just one school and then just let the others take over. We're really getting along.
For me, it's that aesthetic experience that you can't explain about theatre. There's something magical happens.
This above all, to thine own self be true. And that means be your best self. Because no one else can be your best self for you. We want you to be your best self, but it's you that have to do that. Every day, as adults, you're going to try to be your best self. And you can do that for us starting today. When you step on that stage, you are an actor. You be your best self, you tell the story as well as you can.
Because when you see the end project, you don't see how they journey towards there. You can only imagine by how they respond, how those children have found their way to that, telling that story. And how the teachers interact with them while they're doing that tells you.
The other thing I've absolutely loved is the power of the chorus. You've all got these amazing moments where you're all speaking together and it just fills this space.
I'm getting old and I need someone to rely on. This is power, it's a natural murder. It's not a natural murder. No, it's madness. Yeah, there is a madness.
I really enjoyed doing the Shakespeare project. I would feel bad if I got the opportunity and then people a few years later didn't. I feel like it should be carried on.
I wanted to bring actors in to watch it because I thought this is where you should be to start your work with this kind of openness to what is possible.
It's a kind of education that it's really hard to quantify, but we all know what it feels like to relate to someone else.
If you can instill that sense of confidence, no matter what your audience, then you're kind of set up for life.
I think when I see pupils years later who've done the Shakespeare project and they still remember their speech and they just seem to have this fearlessness around Shakespeare.
So we've had a fantastic 10 years so far working with the festival, and we really hope that we're kind of maintaining the memory of John and doing all the good work which he intended, and we look forward to another 10 years.
That warmth that John was talking about, which is about leaving warmth everywhere, it's in absolute the core of every single element of the project is love and warmth, and I think that's why it's the best thing that I do.
The readiness is on!